guys and gals. I'm Barb Catlin. Welcome to this piano masterclass. Here I'm going to show you a few things to help you gain some skills on jazz piano. And we're going to start right from the beginning with some basic major and minor triads. So let me switch over to my piano view so that you can see what I'm doing here. All right. So major and minor triads, you should just think of the major and minor triads as being pulled from the major scale. So start with your scale, pull out 1, 3, 5. There's your major triad. And I recommend playing them around the circle of fourths, in inversion. All your major triads. Okay? Think of these triads as being the cake. When you think of a cake, what's the biggest part of a cake? The cakey part, the bready stuff, right? That's what the triads are. Major, minor, diminished, augmented. Those are the cake. That's the foundational part of our cake. It's the bread. So practice your inversions. So something like this. Then go to up a fourth from there. Again, a fourth up from there. So B flat now. This is all major chords pulled out of 1, 3, 5 of the major scale. Up a fourth. Please excuse my broken key. I have a new piano coming. All right, then I just want you to think of the minor triads as being related to the majors, just down a half a step in the middle on the third of the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lower the third a half a step. Okay, minor triads, and you play through all of those. Same drill. I'm going to start on C, and you can play with me this time. Ready? Let's play it together. 1, all your minor triads. 1, 2, 3, 4. First inversion. Right? Now go up a fourth from there. 2, 3, 4. Go up a fourth from there. This will be B flat and let's do one more. Let's do E flat minor, up a fourth. Okay, and if you look at our first page of the packet, it's the major and minor triads sheet here. And it gives you some more information. You can write them out. Sometimes that's good. Flip to the next page, which is the triad worksheet. Okay, on this thing, it's just something you can write out or you can just play through. It also discusses diminished triads, 1, flat 3, flat 5, and also augmented triads, which is 1, 3, sharp 5. So let me play through some of the diminished triads since we've done a bit of the major and the minor. And again, these are all 12 keys, so you can play through them by just reading off the sheet, going through, F, you know, jamming through them, B flat. So you can do them as fast as you can so you really feel like you know them. Same with the minors, right? Then B flat minor, then E flat minor, and so on, right? Diminished, let's play through a couple diminished. 1, flat 3, flat 5. Let's go ahead and play them in the order that they are on your sheet. So I'm about halfway down the page under diminished triads. 2, 1, 2, 3, and. And maybe you can, you put those in inversions. Okay, let's try the E flat. A 1, 2, 3, and. And so on. Let's do some augmented. Skip down. These are a little harder to see, the augmented chords. Augmented is a major triad with a sharp 5. Okay, so you can play through these. They're a little bit longer of a grab. I'm sorry, let me try that again. Woohoo! I'm trying to add the 7th. We'll get to those, right? So play through all of your augmented triads in inversions and really get that cake down. Here's the deal. With the 7th chords, we don't go to a party, right, with a cake with nothing on it, right? So we put frosting or icing on cakes, right? Then we can go to the party with our cake. So I want you to think of the seventh chords as being the frosting or the icing. They really are a complete and important part of any cake. You know, unless you're on some crazy diet, you want that frosting on there. So you think of seventh chord as just being a fourth note of the chord. So we're no longer just doing 3 notes, we're doing 4 notes. Here we go, seventh chord. So let me go ahead and flip over to your page. It says seventh chords. And I want to talk about the first type of seventh chord, which is the major seventh. And like the name implies, it's major triad with the seventh note of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I like to think of that seventh as being a half step from 8. It's a half step from 8. That's a much easier way to see it, because maybe I'm going to invert it and put it down there, right? Or put it in the middle. And then I can just think of it as being closely related to 8, okay? Take a look at your sheet and look at all the different ways. The chord symbols for the major 7 chords really vary. It can be a capital M7, MA7, MAJ7, or even triangle 7. So let's go around the fourths and place some major 7s in root position first, okay? Here's C major, 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, and. Just listen to how nice that sounds. It gives it a very modern sound. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's go up a fourth from there. F major. F major 7. 2, 3, 4. Notice that 7th is a half step away from 8. That's how I always want you to think of the major 7. Half step away from 8. Up a fourth. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Half a step away from 8. Okay? So practice all your major 7th chords. And again, that comes right out of the major scale. The next type of 7th is the dominant 7th chord. Dominant 7th chords have a very interesting sound. Okay? They sound like the blues because that is the type of chord that's used in the blues, or dominant 7th chords. Dominant 7th chord, major triad, 1, 3, 5, with a flat 7. So again, just like the major scale, major 7th, we want to think about the 7th as being related to 8. So in this case, it's a whole step away from the 8th note, or the root on top. Okay, so let's play that. Maybe we could practice these in inversion this time. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Here's root position. Let's go to first inversion. Second inversion. Third inversion. Okay, go to F. Notice, whole step from 8. First inversion, second inversion, third inversion. Okay, let's go up a fourth from there. Here's B flat 7, again a whole step below. First inversion, second inversion, third inversion, and so on. Okay, so play through all your dominant 7th chords. Next, the minor 7th chord. This is at the bottom of your sheet. And this one also has different ways of writing it. C little m7, C mi7, CIMN7, or C/7. All of these mean minor, okay? Now in this case, we're going to start with a minor triad and then have a flat 7 on the top. Okay, minor triad, whole step below 8. Okay, so let's go ahead and play through some of these in inversions, starting from C. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and C minor 7. That's root position. Let's bring it up. First inversion, second inversion, 4, 1, and third inversion. Going on, F minor 7. There's root position, first inversion, second inversion. Okay, third inversion. And you would do that all through the keys, all right? Going around the circle of fourths. And if you flip your page over, whoops, here you go. I gave you a 7th chord worksheet. And the best way to do this is to blast through it by doing all your inversions. Here's C major 7, that's the first chord. Do them all in inversion. Next one, F major 7. Okay, then go to the minors, right? So you're doing all the inversions of all the chords. I have a friend who calls this the Rosetta Stone of learning your chords. You really have to learn them. So go through these worksheets and play through them and get them under your fingers, literally. Okay, one last thing here. This is the 2-5-1 chord progression. The 2-5-1 chord progression, we hear about it all the time, right? The 2-5-1 chord progression is the most common pattern used in jazz and not only jazz music, but lots of music, actually. So that's why we practice things that way, because it happens all the time. So let me tell you about it. Go ahead and get that sheet up that talks about the 2-5-1 chord progression, okay? The first thing I want you to notice is that all the 2 chords are minor chords. All the 5 chords are dominant 7th chords, and all of the 1 chords are major 7 chords, okay? And what you want to think about, this comes from this. I don't know if you've ever goofed around by doing this, right? But we have a sequence of chords, okay? And this is based, obviously, on the major scale. We could do it with triads, too, but we're heading for a full cake, right? We're heading for that cake with our frosting. So when we do this and come up through the major scale this way in thirds, it sets up different qualities of chords. The 1 chord is a major 7 chord. It's kind of a place of rest, okay? The 2 chord is a minor 7. Here's my D minor 7 chord. The 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is a dominant chord, and it's the only dominant chord in this lineup, which is why it has such a unique sound. Okay, 1 chord is major 7, 2 chord is minor 7, 3 chord is minor 7, so we have a couple minors. 4 chord is also major 7. The 5 chord is the only dominant 7 chord, major triad with a flatted 7th. 6 chord is minor 7, and the 7th chord is what we call half diminished or minor 7 flat 5, okay? So they have different qualities, which means they have different types of sounds to each kind. Minor chords sound different than major chords sound different than minor. When we play it in this pattern of 2-5-1, 2-5-1, what do you notice about that? They're all a fourth away, right? The world moves in this progression in cycles of the roots moving in fourths. Johann Sebastian Bach created this, so any music from the Baroque era, you might hear. Have you ever heard that before? You probably have. Check out my root movement. Then the next one is roots moving, the roots of the chords moving in fourths, okay? And what's happening here is the 7th of the D minor moving a half step down to the 3rd of the upcoming chord, which would be G7. The 7th of G7 moving down to the 3rd of the next chord. The 3rd has a lot of gravity. Why? Because it determines major and minor. So the 3rd of the chord, things are moving into the 3rd of the chord. It has a lot of gravity. Here's my D minor, 3rd and 7 of D minor. And what I'm doing there is I'm just doing doing my chord and I'm pulling out the two most important chord tones, 3rd and 7th. So let's look at that. Here's the 7th, moving down a half step. Then the 7 moves down a half step. 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 7 moves down a whole step in this case. And it sets up this really cool progression, this thing that sounds like it's moving to something. The 2-5-1. We do that in practice 2-5-1s a lot. So I just want to point that out. You'll come to know what that means as you get into jazz more and more. All right. So that concludes our little theory thing, which is not so little. It's the foundation of everything. So you've got to start there. If you don't know your chords, we really can't move on. So spend some time going through all of those worksheets and then come on back and we will look at some things that you can do with the 3rds and 7ths specifically. All right? See you in a minute, or an hour, or 10 hours, or 2 weeks, or 10 months, or however long it takes you to get all those triads and 7th chords under your belt. It's important though, so I'll see you back on the next video.